Self-discipline is not about being perfect or forcing yourself to work without rest. It's about learning how to stay steady when life gets hard, how to do what matters even when you don't feel like it, and how to keep growing no matter what comes your way. This audiobook is a complete guide to mastering that kind of strength, the quiet strength that makes progress possible every single day. If you've ever felt stuck, distracted, or frustrated by a lack of consistency, this will help you understand why and show you how to change it. You'll learn how to build routines that keep you focused, how to set clear goals that actually lead somewhere, and how to protect your time and energy from everything that tries to waste it. You'll discover how to face setbacks without losing confidence, how to think clearly when pressure builds, and how to keep improving even when results come slowly. This isn't about quick fixes or motivation that fades after a few days. It's about real change, building habits that last, developing resilience, and learning how to guide yourself with patience and purpose. You'll see how small, consistent actions shape lasting success, how discipline turns into freedom, and how reflection helps you grow wiser with time. By the end, you won't just know what discipline means, you'll feel it. You'll understand how to take control of your days, build confidence through action, and live with a sense of calm strength that carries into every part of your life. Stay with this journey until the end, and you'll walk away with the tools to shape not just your habits, but your entire future. Chapter 1. Build daily routines that strengthen your discipline and focus. Self-discipline does not begin with motivation or bursts of inspiration. It begins with structure. The kind of structure that holds your life together when emotions fluctuate and energy fades. The first step toward building a strong and focused mind is to build daily routines that strengthen it. Routine is not about restriction. It is about direction. It gives your days purpose and helps you act with intention rather than impulse. When you wake up each day knowing what you will do, your mind is not distracted by endless choices. It is steady. It knows its path. Discipline grows when you remove unnecessary decisions. Each day, most people waste mental energy deciding small things that do not matter. What to do first, what to eat, when to start working. These choices appear small, but they drain your focus. By creating a routine, you decide once, and then you follow through every day. That decision becomes automatic, leaving your mind free for what truly matters. It may sound simple, but this is how consistency is built through repetition and clarity. A disciplined life is not about doing more, it is about doing what matters most, every single day. To build this strength, start by examining how your current days flow. Look at your mornings, your work hours, your evenings. Notice when your mind feels sharp and when it feels distracted. Identify the times when you waste time or act without purpose. This self-awareness is the foundation of discipline. You cannot change what you do not understand. When you wake up in the morning, the first moments of the day shape the rest of it. If you begin your morning reacting to messages or social media, your focus is already divided. Your mind becomes scattered before you even start your day. Instead, start with a routine that centers your thoughts. Take a few quiet minutes to breathe, stretch, or write down what you intend to do. You do not need hours of planning, just a few moments to align your mind with your purpose. Those few minutes build control. They remind your mind that you lead your day, not your impulses. Once your morning is steady, your discipline begins to grow. Discipline loves clarity. When you plan your day in advance, even roughly, you remove confusion. You can create a simple pattern: work, rest, movement, reflection. You can adjust it as needed, but the structure keeps your mind anchored. This is not about perfection. You will miss some days. You will have distractions. But the act of returning to your routine again and again is what builds strength. Each time you return, You prove to yourself that you are in control. Discipline is not built by grand actions. It is built by small actions repeated until they become part of who you are. When you decide to wake up at the same time each day, when you complete your tasks even when you do not feel like it, when you follow through with your plans without excuses, you are training your mind to stay steady under pressure. The more you repeat these patterns, the less effort it takes. You are rewiring your mind for consistency. Most people think they lack motivation, but what they truly lack is structure. When you have structure, you do not need to rely on motivation. You act because it is what you do. Your daily routine becomes the invisible guide that leads you toward your goals. Without it, life feels scattered. With it, every day becomes a small step toward mastery. To build a routine that strengthens discipline, begin with something simple: your mornings. Create a fixed time to wake up, no matter how you feel. That single habit teaches your mind commitment. It is not about the time itself, but about the act of doing it consistently. When you wake up early, you gain quiet hours before the world distracts you. You can read, think, plan, or exercise. These small moments set the tone for your entire day. Once your morning is consistent, build a system for your most important work. Choose one period during the day when your focus is strongest and dedicate it to deep work. No distractions, no multitasking. Work in silence, even if only for an hour. During that time, do not seek stimulation or breaks. Train your mind to stay present. You will notice that at first, your mind resists. It will crave interruption, but if you stay patient, your focus will grow stronger each day. This is how you strengthen mental endurance, by facing discomfort and not escaping it. Discipline also grows when you respect rest. Many people think discipline means constant action, but that is not true. Without proper rest, your focus weakens. You become irritable, careless, and unfocused. Your mind needs recovery just as much as your body does. Set boundaries for when you stop working. Create moments to recharge: walks, quiet reading, solitude. Rest is not laziness when it is intentional. It is preparation for the next effort. You may not realize it, but your environment shapes your discipline more than you think. The people you spend time with, the objects in your space, the noise around you, all of it influences your focus. If your surroundings are chaotic, your mind will mirror that chaos. Simplify your environment. Keep your workspace clean. Remove distractions. When your surroundings are clear, your thoughts become clearer. It becomes easier to act with purpose. A strong routine is built on intention, not impulse. You must decide what matters to you and design your days around it. Write down your top 3 priorities each day. Focus on completing them before anything else. If you finish them, your day has been productive, no matter what else happens. This focus on essentials keeps you from spreading yourself too thin. It also trains your discipline to work on what truly matters, instead of chasing minor tasks that feel urgent but add little value. Self-discipline thrives when your actions align with your values. Ask yourself daily, does how I spend my time reflect what I truly want? If not, adjust. Each small adjustment brings you closer to a disciplined and meaningful life. Remember that discipline is not punishment. It is a form of self-respect. When you discipline yourself, you honor your goals. You act according to your principles instead of your dulled moods. Every strong routine starts small. Do not try to change everything at once. Start with 1 or 2 actions you can repeat consistently. It could be waking up early, exercising for a few minutes, reading a few pages, or writing your goals. These small acts build momentum. Once they become natural, you can add more. The key is to stay consistent. One disciplined habit is better than 10 inconsistent ones. The real test of discipline comes when you do not feel like it. Those are the moments that separate progress from stagnation. When you push yourself to stay on track despite low motivation, you build mental toughness. It is not about being perfect, it is about refusing to give up easily. Discipline is built in the quiet moments when no one is watching. When you keep your promises to yourself, even in private, you strengthen trust in your own word. That trust is the foundation of self-confidence. The process of building routines is also a process of self-awareness. You begin to see patterns in your behavior. You notice when you are focused and when you are not. You learn which habits drain your energy and which ones restore it. This awareness helps you refine your routine over time. You no longer follow habits blindly, you create them with purpose. The power of a daily routine lies in its stability. Life will always bring uncertainty, stress, setbacks, unexpected changes. A strong routine gives you something to hold on to. It is your anchor in chaos. Even when everything else feels uncertain, your daily actions remind you that you still have control over yourself. That control creates calm. It gives you strength to face challenges without losing focus. When you begin building your daily routines, be patient. Discipline is not built overnight. It grows quietly through repetition and honesty. You will have days when you break your routine. You will have moments of resistance. That is normal. What matters is not perfection, but persistence. Each time you restart, you make your discipline stronger. Failure is only final when you stop trying. To stay consistent, track your routines. Write them down. Mark the days you complete your habits. Seeing progress visually keeps you accountable. It reminds you how far you have come. Tracking also helps you recognize patterns when you succeed and when you slip. With that awareness, you can adjust your strategy. You begin to lead your life consciously instead of reacting to circumstances. Over time, your routines will feel natural. What once required effort becomes automatic. You will not need to think about waking early, working deeply, or staying organized. It will simply be what you do. That is the reward of discipline, freedom through structure. You will no longer be controlled by impulses or external distractions. You will be guided by your own system. As you progress, your focus will sharpen. You will notice that your mind becomes quieter. You will stop chasing constant stimulation. You will learn to enjoy the calm of consistent effort. The peace that comes from discipline is not loud. It is steady. It brings a quiet confidence that grows with each day you stay true to your routine. Discipline is also about choosing the long term over the short term. It is about saying no to immediate comfort for the sake of future strength. Your routines train you to delay gratification. They remind you that real growth takes time. Each day you follow through, you invest in your future self. That investment compounds, just like savings. Over time, it transforms your life. You must also remember that discipline is not rigid. Life will change, and so should your routines. Adapt them when needed, but keep the structure. When something stops working, adjust it without guilt. Flexibility keeps your discipline sustainable. The goal is not to follow rules blindly, but to live with awareness and intention. Building discipline through daily routines is not about control over everything. It is about control over yourself. It is about training your mind to act with purpose rather than emotion. It is about becoming reliable in your own eyes. Once you become that kind of person, you no longer depend on external motivation. You trust yourself to follow through. You may not notice progress at first. The early days of routine feel repetitive and quiet. But within that quiet repetition lies transformation. Every day you follow through, your mind changes a little, your self-image strengthens. You begin to see yourself as someone who keeps promises. That belief is powerful. It shapes how you act in every part of life. Discipline is the seed of all achievement. Without it, talent is wasted, goals fade, and dreams remain distant. With it, you can achieve anything, not because it makes life easy, but because it gives you the strength to keep going when things are hard. Routine is how you build that strength day by day. At the end of each day, take a moment to reflect. Ask yourself what went well and what could improve. Do not judge yourself harshly. Reflection is not punishment, it is growth. It helps you refine your actions and make the next day better. This simple act of review keeps your discipline alive. It turns routine into mastery. The truth is, discipline will not always feel exciting. There will be days of boredom, frustration, and doubt. But those are the days that matter most. They are the proof that you are building something real. Anyone can act when motivated. Discipline is acting when you are not. That is where progress lives. In time, your daily routines will become your greatest source of freedom. You will no longer rely on fleeting motivation. You will live each day with intention. You will wake up knowing what matters and go to bed with peace of mind. Discipline will no longer be something you chase. It will be something you embody. And that is the power of daily routine. It shapes not only what you do, but who you become. It turns confusion into clarity, weakness into strength, and distraction into focus. It builds a person who does not need to be told what to do because they already know what needs to be done. The disciplined life is not about perfection. It is about consistency, honesty, and steady growth. Every day you practice it, you take another step toward mastery not of the world, but of yourself. When you build daily routines that strengthen your discipline and focus, you are not just organizing your schedule, you are designing your life. You are creating a foundation that can withstand chaos, temptation, and doubt. That foundation will support every goal, every dream, and every challenge ahead. It will not make life easier, but it will make you stronger. And in the end, that strength will become your greatest freedom. Chapter 2. Set clear goals and measure progress to stay accountable. Clear goals give direction to your life. They show you where to go and why your effort matters. Without them, it's easy to drift from one thing to another, always busy but rarely productive. Self-discipline needs a target. You cannot be disciplined about nothing. A clear goal gives your energy purpose. It tells your mind what deserves focus and what doesn't. When you define your goals, you take control of your future instead of reacting to whatever happens around you. Most people think they have goals, but what they really have are vague wishes. They say they want to be successful, fit, or happier, but those words mean little without definition. Success in what way? Fit according to what measure? Happiness built from what values? When your goals are unclear, your mind has nothing solid to work with. It cannot measure progress or recognize success. This is why many people lose motivation. They can't see evidence that they are moving forward. A clear goal changes that. It gives shape to your actions and a standard for your effort. To set a clear goal, begin by identifying what truly matters to you. Forget what others expect or what sounds impressive. Focus on what brings you meaning. Ask yourself what you want your life to look like a year from now. What would you be proud to achieve? The answer doesn't need to be grand. It only needs to be honest. Once you know what you want, write it down in specific terms. A written goal becomes real. It stops being a thought and becomes a promise. Break your larger goals into smaller milestones. Big ambitions can feel overwhelming. When the goal feels too far away, your mind struggles to stay motivated. But when you divide it into clear, measurable steps, progress becomes visible. Each small victory gives you a sense of control and keeps your energy alive. For example, If your goal is to improve your health, define exactly how you will measure it, perhaps walking a certain number of steps each day, losing a set amount of weight, or improving your endurance. When you can measure it, you can improve it. Accountability begins with measurement. Without it, you can easily convince yourself that you're improving when you're not. Tracking your progress creates truth. It shows you what's working and what's not. It also reminds you that results come from action, not intention. You can track progress in many ways: journaling, charts, checklists, or digital tools. The method doesn't matter as much as the consistency. When you track your efforts daily or weekly, you build awareness. You see patterns, identify habits, and make adjustments before problems grow. Accountability is not about pressure, it is about honesty. It means facing your results without excuses. It requires maturity to admit when you fall short and wisdom to learn from it. Many people fear accountability because they see it as judgment. But it's actually self-respect. When you hold yourself accountable, you are saying your goals matter enough to monitor. You are saying your effort deserves structure. This attitude transforms your relationship with work. You stop acting from guilt and start acting from responsibility. One powerful way to stay accountable is to create a system of review. Every week, set aside time to evaluate what you've done. Look at your goals and ask whether your actions brought you closer to them. If they didn't, don't blame yourself, adjust your strategy. Discipline grows when you treat progress as a process, not perfection. A weekly review keeps your mind aligned with your purpose and prevents distraction from taking over. Clarity in goals also protects your time. When you know what you're working toward, it's easier to say no to distractions that don't align. Each day presents countless opportunities to waste time: social media, unimportant conversations, endless browsing. When your goals are strong, these temptations lose power. You begin to filter choices through one simple question: does this move me closer to my goal? That question alone can save years of wasted effort. Every clear goal must have a reason behind it. The reason gives it life. When the journey gets hard, your reason keeps you moving. This is your why. It must be personal and strong. If your reason is weak, your discipline will crumble when faced with challenge. But if your reason is deep, if it's tied to your values, your loved ones, or your self-respect, it becomes unshakable. Spend time understanding why each goal matters to you. The deeper your reason, the stronger your discipline. You also need to make your goals realistic. Ambition is good, but impossible standards create frustration. Choose goals that challenge you but still feel achievable with consistent effort. Unrealistic goals destroy motivation because progress feels invisible. When you build success gradually, you prove to yourself that growth is possible. That proof becomes fuel for bigger goals later. Accountability can also come from others. Sharing your goals with someone you trust adds a layer of commitment. When you tell someone your plans, you create social pressure to follow through. Choose someone who supports your growth, but will also be honest with you. Check in with them regularly about your progress. Knowing that someone will ask about your progress makes you more likely to act. But remember, accountability partners are not responsible for your results. You are. They only serve as reminders of your own promise. To stay accountable, build visible reminders of your goals. Place them where you'll see them every day: a note on your mirror, a phrase on your desk, a list on your phone's lock screen. Each reminder keeps your purpose alive. When you see it, you reconnect with what matters. Over time, your brain begins to associate daily effort with the satisfaction of staying aligned with your goals. This creates a positive loop of discipline and progress. Discipline and goals are inseparable. Without clear goals, discipline becomes directionless effort. Without discipline, goals remain dreams. Together, they create progress. When you set a goal, you give your discipline something to build upon. When you measure progress, you keep your discipline sharp. And when you hold yourself accountable, you ensure that discipline becomes part of your identity. Some days, your progress will be fast. Other days, it will be slow or invisible. The pace doesn't matter as much as the consistency. What matters is that you stay aware of where you are and where you're going. Measurement keeps you grounded in reality. It prevents illusions of effort and forces you to face facts. Real improvement only happens when you are honest about your results. There will be times when progress feels stagnant. That's when most people quit. But this is where discipline must step in. When results are slow, shift your focus from outcome to process. Ask yourself, am I following my plan? If you are, trust that progress will come. If you're not, adjust the plan. Either way, stay in motion. The act of staying consistent during quiet periods builds resilience and patience, two traits essential for long-term success. The purpose of setting and tracking goals is not just to achieve outcomes, but to shape who you become in the process. When you follow through on your goals, you strengthen your character, you build reliability, you learn how to think long-term and manage setbacks without giving up. These traits last longer than any single achievement. They become part of your identity. Clear goals bring order to your thoughts. When you know what you want, you stop chasing everything that looks interesting. You conserve energy. You spend your time with intention. This kind of focus creates peace. It replaces anxiety with direction. Instead of asking, "What should I do next?" you already know. The question becomes, how well can I do what I planned? That is the mindset of discipline. To maintain motivation, celebrate progress. Even small wins deserve recognition. When you finish a difficult task or complete a milestone, pause to acknowledge it. This does not mean indulging in distraction. It means appreciating your effort. Celebration keeps your energy alive and reminds your mind that progress is rewarding. Neglecting to acknowledge progress leads to burnout because the brain feels like it's working without payoff. Staying accountable also means facing your excuses directly. Excuses disguise themselves as reasons, but they always serve to protect comfort. When you notice yourself delaying action, ask why. Usually, it's not lack of time or skill, it's fear or resistance. Facing these truths takes courage, but it is how growth happens. Each time you act, despite excuses, you train your mind to choose responsibility over comfort. Over time, goal setting and measurement become second nature. You begin to live with clarity. You wake up knowing what matters and end the day with proof that you moved forward. This state of awareness changes how you see yourself. You no longer feel like life happens to you. You see that you are shaping it daily through your choices. That realization builds confidence and inner peace. When your goals are clear, your progress visible, and your accountability strong, you no longer depend on motivation. You act because it's part of who you are. Each goal becomes a chapter in the story of your growth. You build evidence every day that you can be trusted to follow through. That is the quiet power of discipline. It turns intention into identity. In the end, setting clear goals and measuring progress is about living deliberately. It is about taking full responsibility for your time, your choices, and your direction. Every goal you define and every bit of progress you track is a reminder that you have power over your life. That power grows. With each day you stay consistent, and with that power comes freedom, the freedom to live with purpose, the freedom to trust yourself, and the freedom to know you are moving towards something meaningful, one disciplined step at a time. Chapter 3. Reduce distractions by designing an environment that supports habits. Discipline is not only built from within, it is also shaped by what surrounds you. The environment you live and work in has a powerful influence on your behavior. It can either support your growth or quietly weaken it. You cannot expect to stay focused in a space designed for distraction. You cannot build strong habits in an environment that constantly pulls your attention away. If you want discipline to thrive, you must design an environment that helps it grow naturally. When your surroundings align with your goals, willpower becomes less necessary because the environment itself begins to guide your behavior. Every person has limits to their mental energy. Each distraction, no matter how small, takes a piece of that energy away. The phone that vibrates, the cluttered desk, the noise from others, these small interruptions break your concentration and force your brain to restart its focus again. Most people underestimate how much energy this process consumes. They think they can multitask, but the mind does not truly multitask. It switches rapidly, losing focus every time. When you remove distractions from your environment, you protect your focus and preserve your energy for what truly matters. Start by taking a close look at your physical surroundings. Walk through the space where you spend most of your time, your home, your workspace, even your digital space. Ask yourself whether each part of it supports your goals or interferes with them. A clean and simple environment helps your mind stay calm. A chaotic one makes it restless. Remove items that do not serve a purpose. You do not need perfection. You need clarity. When your environment is organized, your thoughts become organized. You move from task to task with less resistance. Visual clutter is mental noise. When your eyes constantly take in disorder, your brain works harder to process it. You may not notice it consciously, but it drains your focus. Keep only what you need in your immediate view. If you work at a desk, clear everything except the essentials. A simple workspace sends a signal to your brain that it is time to work. When the environment cues a specific behavior, the behavior becomes easier to repeat. This is how habits are reinforced through design. Technology is one of the greatest sources of modern distraction. It has trained the brain to expect constant stimulation. Each notification, message, and update steals seconds of your attention, and over time those seconds turn into hours. If you want to build habits that last, you must take control of your digital environment. Turn off non-essential notifications. Keep your phone out of reach during focused work. Designate specific times for checking messages rather than reacting instantly. These small boundaries protect your mental space and teach your mind to focus again. Noise is another hidden enemy of focus. Even background sounds like conversations, television, or traffic can reduce concentration. If possible, create a quiet space for your most important work. If silence is not possible, use calm background sounds or noise-canceling tools to reduce interference. The goal is not to create a perfect environment, but to minimize the constant pull of distraction. When you create stillness around you, your thoughts become still enough to focus deeply. Your environment should not only remove distractions but also encourage the habits you want to build. For example, if you want to read more, keep a book where you sit often. If you want to exercise, place your workout clothes where you can see them. When you design your space to make good habits visible and easy to start, you reduce the friction that often prevents action. In the same way, make bad habits harder to access. Keep unhealthy snacks out of sight. Move distracting devices to another room. When the environment aligns with your intentions, you spend less time fighting against temptation. Lighting, temperature, and scent may seem minor, but they affect energy and mood. A dim, cluttered room can lower motivation. A well-lit, clean space can uplift it. Choose an environment that feels alive and supports alertness. Open the curtains, let in fresh air, and keep the room comfortable but not overly relaxing. You want a space that signals action, not rest. The body and mind respond to environmental cues more strongly than most people realize. A good environment silently teaches you when to focus and when to rest. The people in your environment also shape your discipline. The conversations you hear, the attitudes you absorb, and the behaviors you witness all influence your own actions. If you are surrounded by people who constantly complain or waste time, that energy seeps into you. But if you spend time with people who value growth and discipline, their habits reinforce yours. You cannot always choose everyone around you, but you can limit how much influence negative environments have. Protect your mental space as carefully as your physical one. Digital spaces require the same attention as physical ones. The websites you visit, the videos you watch, the social media you follow, these all shape your mindset. If your online environment is filled with noise, comparison, or negativity, it becomes harder to stay focused on your own path. Be intentional about what you consume. Follow content that educates, uplifts, and challenges you in healthy ways. Delete or mute anything that distracts, drains, or discourages you. Discipline in the digital world begins with digital boundaries. Designing an environment for focus also means creating structure in how you move through it. When you enter a space, your mind associates it with a certain behavior. If you use the same space for both work and relaxation, your brain becomes confused. It does not know whether to focus or rest. Try to create zones for different purposes. A space for work. A space for rest. A space for reflection. When you respect these boundaries, your mind learns to switch states naturally. This design supports consistent performance without mental exhaustion. Simplicity in environment brings strength to the mind. When everything around you serves a clear purpose, you stop wasting time deciding what to do next. The fewer distractions you face, the more energy you have for growth. This principle applies to possessions as well. The more things you own, the more they own your attention. Choose what adds value and release what doesn't. Minimalism is not about empty spaces, it's about intentional spaces that keep your focus free. Every habit you build begins with a cue. The environment provides that cue. If you wake up and see your phone first, your habit will be checking it. If you wake up and see your notebook or running shoes, your habit will be action. Your environment is like a silent partner in your discipline. It constantly suggests what to do next. By shaping it carefully, you make the right choice, the easy choice. This is how you build a life that supports growth without constant struggle. You must also pay attention to mental environment, the thoughts you allow in. Clutter in the mind is as destructive as clutter in the room. If your inner environment is filled with worry, doubt, or constant noise, you will find it difficult to stay focused, no matter how perfect your surroundings are. Begin each day by clearing mental space through quiet reflection or writing. Release thoughts that do not serve you. Make room for focus and calm. Discipline thrives in a quiet mind. A supportive environment is not static, it evolves as your goals evolve. What supports you today may distract you tomorrow. Review your environment regularly. Ask whether it still aligns with who you are becoming. Adjust it when necessary. Growth requires flexibility. As you change your habits, your environment must change with you. This keeps your surroundings alive and aligned with your journey. You will find that as distractions decrease, your energy rises. The absence of constant interruption reveals how powerful your focus can be. Tasks that once took hours will take less time because your attention will no longer be divided. You will begin to feel a sense of control that comes not from force, but from design. You will no longer rely on willpower alone because your environment will do half the work for you. Designing an environment that supports your habits is an act of respect for your goals. It is how you turn discipline from an effort into a lifestyle. When everything around you encourages good choices, you stop fighting yourself. The world becomes an ally instead of an obstacle. That is the purpose of an intentional environment. It frees your energy to focus entirely on becoming the person you want to be. When you reduce distractions and shape your surroundings to match your priorities, life becomes clearer. You start each day without noise, end each day with purpose, and move through your hours with a sense of calm control. You no longer chase focus, it lives naturally within the spaces you have created. That is how self-discipline grows, not by force, but by thoughtful design. It is the quiet power of building an environment that leads you, step by step, toward your best self. Chapter 4. Practice small, consistent actions daily to build lasting willpower. Willpower is not a gift that some people are born with and others are not. It is a muscle that grows with use and weakens with neglect. The strongest people you know are not strong because they are naturally disciplined. They are strong because they practice small, consistent actions every single day. They have learned that greatness is not built through sudden bursts of effort, but through steady repetition of simple habits that compound over time. Each small act of consistency is a quiet victory that builds the foundation for lasting strength. The human mind often wants to do everything at once. When you set a goal, you feel the urge to change everything overnight. You imagine yourself transformed immediately. But real progress never works that way. Trying to do too much at once drains your energy and leads to burnout. The key to building lasting willpower is to start small, so small that you cannot make excuses. When the task feels manageable, your mind does not resist it. You act, you repeat, and each repetition reinforces your identity as someone who follows through. Small, consistent actions are powerful because they train the brain to focus on process, not perfection. The person who exercises for 10 minutes a day will achieve more in a year than the person who trains hard for a week and then quits. The small daily effort creates rhythm. It becomes part of who you are. When something becomes part of your identity, it requires less effort to continue. That is how habits become automatic. Lasting willpower grows when you remove the pressure of immediate results. Instead of asking, "How fast can I reach my goal?" ask, "Can I stay consistent today?" That question keeps you grounded in the present moment. It shifts your focus from outcome to discipline. Every time you keep your word, you strengthen your mental endurance. You teach your mind that your promises are real. That internal trust becomes your greatest source of power. The mind resists change because it seeks comfort. When you introduce small changes instead of drastic ones, you reduce resistance. This is why daily repetition works. It builds progress quietly. The effort feels light at first, but the results accumulate heavily over time. Imagine reading just a few pages a day. It seems small, yet over months it turns into dozens of books. The same is true for saving money, exercising, or learning a new skill. Each small action stacks upon the last until it creates transformation that feels effortless. To make your actions consistent, attach them to routines you already have. This method, known as habit stacking, makes it easier to remember and repeat behaviors. For example, after brushing your teeth, meditate for 2 minutes. After finishing breakfast, write your daily goals. The existing habit serves as a trigger for the new one. You don't need to rely on motivation because the structure of your day reminds you. Willpower grows when effort becomes automatic through structure. Another key to building lasting willpower is reducing the number of decisions you make each day. Decision fatigue weakens discipline. The more choices you face, the more energy you use, and the easier it becomes to give in to distraction. By creating small daily actions that are fixed and predictable, you conserve mental energy for important challenges. The act of simplifying your routine, wearing similar clothes, eating similar meals, working at the same time, strengthens your ability to focus on what truly matters. When you practice small, consistent actions, you also learn the value of patience. Modern life teaches people to chase instant rewards, but self-discipline teaches the opposite, to delay gratification in pursuit of something greater. Each time you resist an impulse and choose consistency instead, you strengthen your mental resilience. You prove to yourself that you are not ruled by urges or moods. That quiet strength is the essence of willpower. To keep your small actions alive, track them, write them down, record each day you follow through. This simple act of measurement creates a sense of progress. Even when results are invisible, the record of your effort gives you proof that you are moving forward. It keeps you honest. It reminds you that growth happens through persistence, not intensity. Seeing a streak of completed days motivates you to keep going, not because of pressure, but because of pride in your consistency. You will notice that the most difficult part of any task is starting. The first few minutes require the most effort because your mind resists leaving comfort. Once you begin, momentum takes over. To make use of this, set a rule. Commit to doing just 5 minutes of the task. Often, those 5 minutes turn into much more because starting breaks inertia. This simple method helps you bypass procrastination and builds the habit of immediate action. Each time you start without hesitation, you teach your brain that discipline means movement, not waiting for the perfect moment. Consistency also depends on how you handle setbacks. There will be days when you fail, when you skip a habit, when you feel unmotivated. What matters is not perfection, but recovery. 1 missed day is harmless. 2 missed days create a pattern. The moment you slip, start again immediately. Do not waste energy on guilt or frustration. Self-discipline is not about never failing, it's about always returning. The faster you recover, the stronger your willpower becomes. Building lasting willpower requires emotional awareness. You must recognize the feelings that tempt you to quit: boredom, fatigue, doubt, and face them with understanding rather than avoidance. When you act even while feeling resistance, you separate yourself from emotion. You realize that feelings do not control actions unless you allow them to. This understanding frees you from emotional swings and helps you stay steady no matter how you feel. The mind loves comfort, but comfort is the enemy of strength. By intentionally practicing small challenges each day, you expand your capacity for discomfort. Take cold showers, wake up earlier, finish tasks before relaxing. These simple acts teach your brain that discomfort is temporary and manageable. Over time, your tolerance increases, and what once felt hard becomes normal. This is how small acts turn into powerful discipline. They rewire your perception of effort. To keep your daily actions meaningful, connect them to your deeper purpose. If you know why a habit matters, you will not abandon it easily. Purpose transforms small acts into expressions of your values. When your daily behaviors reflect who you want to become, discipline feels natural. You are no longer forcing yourself, you are fulfilling your identity. This inner alignment sustains willpower, even when motivation fades. Many people believe they need to feel inspired to act, but the truth is the opposite: action creates inspiration. When you take consistent action, your mind begins to trust your direction. The sense of progress fuels motivation, not the other way around. Waiting for motivation before acting keeps you stuck. Acting daily, even without enthusiasm, builds momentum that makes discipline easier over time. You will also find that consistency reduces anxiety. When your days follow a pattern of small, predictable actions, your mind no longer worries about when or how to start. Routine creates stability. Stability creates peace. Peace allows for deeper focus. This mental calm is one of the hidden rewards of discipline. It quiets the noise of uncertainty and gives your days rhythm. Building lasting willpower also involves respecting your limits. Discipline is not about constant struggle, it is about balance. When you push too hard, exhaustion replaces focus. Sustainable effort requires rest. Plan small breaks between periods of focus. Reward yourself with moments of recovery after consistent work. This rhythm of effort and rest prevents burnout and keeps your willpower renewable. Over time, the small, consistent actions you practice will become automatic. You will not need to think about them or fight resistance each time. The repetition will reprogram your behavior until it feels natural. This is the point where discipline becomes identity. You no longer need to remind yourself to stay consistent because you have become the kind of person who is consistent. Every great achievement can be traced back to small beginnings. The person who runs marathons first walked a single mile. The person who built a business first made one call. The person who transformed their life first changed one habit. What they all share is persistence, the quiet decision to show up every day, regardless of emotion or circumstance. That is the foundation of lasting willpower. When you practice small, consistent actions daily, you are building something much greater than habits. You are building trust with yourself. Each completed action tells your mind, "I can rely on me." That trust turns into confidence. Confidence turns into courage, and courage allows you to face challenges that once felt impossible. That is the real reward of discipline. In the end, willpower is not about pushing yourself harder, it is about showing up steadily. It is the strength to act with purpose, even when progress is invisible. The small daily actions you take are the quiet bricks of your future. Each one builds upon the last, shaping your mind, strengthening your discipline, and defining your character. With time, those small acts of consistency will turn into an unshakable force, a willpower that does not fade but endures through every challenge life presents. Chapter 5. Track time and energy to prioritize tasks that matter most. Time is the one resource that never returns once it is spent, yet many people treat it as if it were infinite. Each day passes, and with it, hours that can never be reclaimed. Discipline is not just about effort, it is about using your time and energy wisely. The ability to track where your time goes and how your energy fluctuates is one of the most practical ways to create meaningful progress. Without awareness, time slips away unnoticed, and even the most ambitious goals remain incomplete. But when you learn to measure both your hours and your energy, you begin to take control of your life at a deeper level. Time management often starts with good intentions but fails because people focus only on scheduling tasks, not understanding themselves. The truth is that productivity is not only about how much time you have, but about how much energy you bring to each hour. You can have a perfectly planned day and still achieve little if your energy is low. You can also accomplish incredible things in a short period if your focus is high. Tracking both time and energy allows you to work in harmony with your natural rhythm instead of fighting against it. Begin by observing how you currently spend your days. For 1 week, record your activities in detail: what you do, when you do it, and how you feel while doing it. Do not judge yourself during this process. The goal is to gain honest awareness. At the end of the week, review your notes and look for patterns. You will likely see that some tasks take more time than expected, and some hours pass unnoticed. You might find that certain activities drain your energy far more than others, even when they don't take much time. This awareness is the foundation for change. Once you have identified where your time and energy go, begin separating your tasks into categories: important, urgent, and unnecessary. Important tasks move your life forward and align with your goals. Urgent tasks demand attention but often serve others' priorities. Unnecessary tasks are distractions that create busyness without progress. The disciplined mind learns to protect time for what truly matters and reduces time spent on what does not. Every hour should have a purpose, whether for work, rest, or reflection. To prioritize effectively, identify your peak energy hours. These are the times of day when you feel mentally sharp, motivated, and capable of deep focus. For some people, it's early morning. For others, it's late at night. Schedule your most demanding tasks during those hours. Use low-energy times for simpler activities that require less concentration. This approach ensures that your best effort is spent on what truly matters rather than wasted on minor tasks. It also prevents frustration from trying to force focus when your body and mind are naturally tired. Energy management goes beyond physical stamina. It includes emotional and mental energy. Certain conversations, environments, or habits can either lift your energy or drain it. Pay attention to how you feel after spending time on different activities. Notice which people or tasks inspire you and which leave you feeling heavy or anxious. Over time, reduce exposure to what drains you and increase what replenishes you. The more you protect your energy, the more consistent your discipline becomes. Tracking time is not about controlling every minute, but about creating awareness. Many people are shocked when they realize how much of their day is lost to unintentional habits, scrolling through social media, overthinking, or reacting to others' needs. When you record your time honestly, those invisible leaks become visible. Once you see them, you can make deliberate choices. You can decide which habits deserve to stay and which must go. Awareness transforms time from something that happens to you into something you manage consciously. Discipline grows stronger when you plan your days in alignment with your energy cycles. Start your mornings with tasks that require focus and creativity. Reserve your afternoons for meetings or routine work. End your evenings with reflection or learning. By assigning tasks to the right time, you create a rhythm that feels natural instead of forced. You no longer push against your own biology, you work with it. This harmony between time and energy builds consistency, and consistency builds results. To stay accountable, use tools that help you measure progress. A simple notebook, calendar, or digital tracker can work. Record how long tasks take compared to how long you expected. Over time, this teaches you to estimate more accurately and plan realistically. Avoid the trap of overloading your schedule. Too many commitments lead to frustration and poor focus. Instead, plan fewer tasks and complete them fully. The satisfaction of finishing important work creates momentum for the next day. Another essential aspect of managing time and energy is learning to say no. Every yes you give takes time and energy away from something else. Discipline means protecting your capacity for what truly matters. Before agreeing to new obligations, ask yourself whether they serve your goals or distract from them. Many people overcommit because they fear disappointing others, but in doing so, they disappoint themselves. Saying no is not selfish, it is a form of respect for your priorities. Energy is also influenced by your physical habits. What you eat, how much you sleep, and whether you move your body all affect focus. A healthy body supports a disciplined mind. Skipping rest or proper nutrition may seem productive in the short term, but it leads to burnout. Structure your day to include breaks, hydration, and exercise. These are not luxuries. They are maintenance for your energy system. When your body feels strong, your focus becomes sharper, and your time is used more effectively. It is equally important to track emotional energy. Stress, unresolved conflict, and constant worry consume focus silently. When your mind is occupied by tension, even small tasks feel overwhelming. Create moments of calm throughout the day, short pauses to breathe, reflect, or simply sit in stillness. These moments reset your mental state and renew your focus. They cost little time but save enormous energy. Over time, you will notice that certain activities produce results far greater than others. These are your high-value tasks, the ones that move your life forward most efficiently. The disciplined person learns to focus on these first. Every morning, identify the 1 or 2 actions that will make the biggest difference in your day. Complete them before anything else. Even if the rest of your day becomes chaotic, those essential tasks will keep your progress intact. This principle of focusing on what matters most separates productive people from busy people. To maintain balance, review your time and energy weekly. Ask yourself what worked well and what needs adjustment. Did you spend your best hours on your most important work? Did you allow distractions to steal time? Did you take care of your physical and mental energy? This self-review turns discipline into a continuous learning process. You refine your habits, adjust your schedule, and grow wiser with each week. Another aspect of prioritizing is learning to finish what you start. Starting new tasks feels exciting, but discipline means seeing them through. Each unfinished task takes up mental space and drains focus. Before beginning something new, complete what is already in motion. Completion frees energy and builds confidence. It teaches the mind that focus leads to results. Technology can be both a tool and a trap for managing time. Use it deliberately. Timers, calendars, and productivity apps can help structure your day, but constant alerts and multitasking can destroy focus. Turn technology into a servant, not a master. Set boundaries, scheduled work hours, limited screen time, and designated moments for communication. Protecting attention is one of the highest forms of self-discipline. The ultimate goal of tracking time and energy is not to fill every minute with work, but to make every minute meaningful. Productivity without purpose leads to emptiness. Each task you prioritize should serve a larger vision of your life. When your actions align with your values, time feels fulfilling rather than rushed. You experience satisfaction because you know that your energy is being spent wisely. Over time, this awareness changes how you live. You begin to see that the quality of your life depends not on how much you do, but on how intentionally you do it. You stop measuring success by busyness and start measuring it by impact. You learn to value rest as much as effort because both are essential to sustained performance. Tracking time and energy turns discipline into a science of self-awareness. It removes guesswork and brings clarity. It teaches you when to push and when to pause, when to focus deeply and when to recover. This understanding creates balance not by accident, but by design. Each day becomes an experiment in improvement, guided by awareness rather than impulse. When you learn to prioritize the tasks that truly matter, distractions lose power. You stop reacting to everything around you and begin leading your own time. Your energy becomes your most valuable currency, and you spend it where it creates real change. That is how disciplined people achieve more with less effort. They understand that the right use of time and energy multiplies results. In the end, discipline is not about doing everything perfectly. It is about doing the right things deliberately. When you track how you spend your time and how your energy rises and falls, you gain control over the rhythm of your life. You move with purpose, act with clarity, and rest without guilt. You stop rushing and start living intentionally. And that simple shift awareness over autopilot is what separates those who drift through time from those who master it. Chapter 6. Strengthen resilience by embracing discomfort and learning from setbacks. Resilience is the strength that keeps a person steady when life becomes difficult. It is not built in comfort or in moments when everything goes well. It is built when things fall apart, when plans fail, and when the path becomes uncertain. Every setback has the power to break you or build you, and the difference lies in how you respond. The people who seem unshakable are not free from hardship. They have simply learned to face it without fear. They do not run from discomfort. They lean into it. They use it as fuel to grow stronger, wiser, and more capable. Discomfort is not the enemy of success. It is the teacher that reveals who you truly are. When you learn to endure challenges without losing focus, you become more stable. The mind grows sharper when tested. Every struggle you face has a lesson hidden inside it, but most people never discover it because they resist the pain instead of listening to it. Growth only happens when you stop avoiding difficulty and begin using it as a tool for self-mastery. The natural instinct of the mind is to seek safety. It wants to avoid risk, uncertainty, and effort. But comfort, while pleasant, weakens discipline. It keeps you fragile. When you make a habit of escaping discomfort, you train yourself to quit whenever life becomes hard. Over time, you lose confidence in your ability to endure. Resilience begins the moment you stop chasing ease and start viewing struggle as practice. Each time you face a challenge willingly, your threshold for pressure increases. You learn that pain is temporary, but the strength gained from it lasts far longer. Every setback carries an opportunity to see your weaknesses clearly. Failure strips away illusion and reveals the truth about your habits, patience, and mindset. Instead of asking why something went wrong, a resilient person asks what can be learned from it. This shift in perspective turns mistakes into lessons rather than losses. When you reflect instead of react, you discover valuable insight that cannot be learned through success alone. Failure becomes a form of training that builds endurance and wisdom. The path to discipline will always involve difficulty because real growth demands friction. You cannot build muscle without resistance, and you cannot build mental strength without challenge. Resilience develops when you repeatedly face discomfort and remain calm through it. It does not mean you enjoy pain. It means you understand its purpose. Every uncomfortable moment is a test of your commitment. Do you quit when it hurts, or do you stay long enough to grow from it? That question defines the strength of your character. To strengthen resilience, start with small acts of discomfort each day. Do things that stretch your patience and courage. Wake up earlier than you want to. Finish tasks even when you feel tired. Speak up when it's easier to stay silent. Each small act trains your mind to handle pressure. The goal is not to suffer, but to build emotional stability. When discomfort becomes familiar, fear begins to fade. What once felt unbearable becomes manageable, and what once felt impossible becomes normal. Setbacks are an unavoidable part of every meaningful journey. You will face rejection, failure, and disappointment many times. These moments are not signs that you are unworthy. They are signals that you are being refined. When you fall short of a goal, pause and look closely. Ask what caused it. Was it poor preparation, lack of focus, external circumstances? Understanding the reason gives you power to adjust and improve. When you view failure as feedback, not defeat, it becomes a stepping stone instead of a wall. Resilience also requires emotional control. When things go wrong, emotions rise quickly: frustration, anger, or shame. If you act on them impulsively, you lose clarity. But when you pause and breathe before reacting, you regain control over your thoughts. This pause is powerful. It allows reason to return. It gives you time to choose your response instead of being ruled by emotion. Discipline is not about suppressing feelings, but managing them wisely. The more you practice emotional balance during hard moments, the stronger your mind becomes. There is great value in reflecting on past challenges. Look back at moments in your life when you struggled yet survived. At the time, you may have felt broken, but you endured. Remembering those experiences reminds you that you have already overcome much. It strengthens your belief in your ability to handle future difficulties. Resilient people carry these memories as quiet proof of strength. They know that pain is not permanent and that every storm eventually passes. When you embrace discomfort, you also develop humility. Struggle reveals that control is limited and that life will not always bend to your will. Accepting this truth removes arrogance and replaces it with patience. You stop expecting perfection from yourself and others. This humility creates peace because you no longer fight against what you cannot change. You focus instead on what can be improved: your attitude, your habits, your perseverance. That shift from control to growth is where resilience deepens. To stay resilient, surround yourself with people who embody strength and accountability. The company you keep influences how you respond to adversity. Those who complain or give up easily will reinforce weakness. Those who stay calm and constructive during difficulty will remind you of what is possible. Share your challenges with those who push you to rise, not with those who encourage self-pity. Strength grows in supportive environments that value honesty and effort. Resilience is also rooted in purpose. When you know why you are enduring something, the pain becomes bearable. A clear purpose gives meaning to struggle. It reminds you that discomfort is not punishment but preparation. Without a strong reason, even small obstacles feel heavy. With purpose, even large challenges become meaningful. Before giving up, always return to your reason. Ask yourself what you stand to gain if you keep going. That clarity fuels perseverance. You must also develop patience with progress. Growth does not happen in straight lines. Some days you will move forward quickly, other days you will feel stuck. The resilient person understands that progress is uneven and accepts it without panic. They keep showing up even when results are invisible. Patience allows discipline to survive long enough for success to appear. The more patient you are with the process, the stronger your resilience becomes. When setbacks occur, practice self-compassion. Many people punish themselves after failure, believing it will make them tougher. But harsh self-criticism only weakens resolve. Resilience grows from kindness, not cruelty. Speak to yourself with the same understanding you would offer a close friend. Accept that mistakes are part of growth. This mindset keeps your energy focused on improvement instead of regret. Self-compassion does not mean avoiding responsibility. It means learning without self-destruction. Physical resilience and mental resilience are closely connected. The body and mind influence each other deeply. When you build endurance through physical effort, exercise, movement, or consistent training, you strengthen your mental fortitude as well. The discipline required to push your body through fatigue mirrors the discipline needed to face emotional difficulty. Use physical challenges as practice for mental strength. They remind you that discomfort is temporary and that quitting early robs you of growth. Another way to embrace discomfort is by intentionally stepping outside your comfort zone in daily life. Try new skills, meet new people, or face fears you've avoided. These experiences build adaptability. They teach you that uncertainty is not something to fear, but something to explore. Each time you survive the unfamiliar, your confidence expands. Adaptability is a sign of resilience because it proves you can function well even when the environment changes. In moments of failure, remind yourself that setbacks do not define you, they refine you. They teach you what effort alone cannot. They reveal gaps in discipline, preparation, or mindset, allowing you to correct them. Every strong person you admire has failed countless times. Their success is not the absence of struggle, but the mastery of recovery. What separates the disciplined from the defeated is the decision to rise again. When you live with the mindset that discomfort is necessary, you stop wasting energy avoiding it. You begin to see challenges as opportunities to expand your limits. Life becomes less about avoiding pain and more about growing through it. This perspective gives you power because nothing can easily shake you. You no longer depend on smooth conditions to perform well. You carry stability within you. Resilience, once developed, changes how you face the world. You no longer fear difficulty because you know you can endure it. You no longer see failure as the end because you know it is only part of the process. You stop expecting life to be easy and instead focus on becoming strong. This shift brings freedom because you realize that while you cannot control every circumstance, you can always control your response. When you strengthen resilience by embracing discomfort and learning from setbacks, you are building a foundation that cannot be taken away. Circumstances may change, plans may fail, and people may disappoint you, but your strength remains. You become unbreakable, not because you never fall, but because you never stay down. Each challenge becomes another opportunity to refine your will, sharpen your mind, and deepen your understanding of yourself. That is how true discipline is built, through the quiet, steady courage to face discomfort and rise stronger every time life tests you. Chapter 7. Automate decisions to conserve willpower for important long-term goals. Every person has a limited amount of mental energy each day. The strength that allows you to stay disciplined, make good choices, and resist distraction is not infinite. It slowly depletes with every decision, whether large or small. This is why some people feel mentally exhausted before the day even ends. They have spent their willpower on too many minor choices: what to wear, what to eat, what to do first, and by the time real challenges appear, their focus is gone. The key to protecting this mental energy is to automate as many decisions as possible so that you can reserve your strength for what truly matters. Decision fatigue is one of the silent killers of productivity and consistency. It doesn't strike all at once. It builds quietly through the day. Every time you decide, your brain consumes energy. Small decisions might not seem important, but they add up quickly. When your mind is tired from making too many trivial choices, your judgment weakens. You start postponing important tasks, making careless mistakes, or giving in to distractions. The disciplined person understands this and designs life to minimize unnecessary choices. Automation, in this sense, is not about living like a machine. It's about creating systems that remove friction from daily life. When you automate decisions, you make your environment and routines work for you instead of against you. You free your mental space to focus on long-term goals instead of daily maintenance. One of the simplest ways to begin is by creating structure around repetitive tasks. Decide once and repeat the decision daily. For example, wake up at the same time every morning, eat a similar healthy breakfast, or schedule your workouts at fixed times each week. Once these choices become automatic, they no longer require thought. The action happens naturally, leaving your mind clear for more meaningful work. Some of the most effective leaders, thinkers, and creators follow this principle. They simplify their daily lives so that their energy can be spent on creative or strategic thinking. It is not because they lack variety, but because they understand the cost of constant decision-making. Each moment of hesitation, each internal debate about what to do next, drains willpower that could be invested elsewhere. When you eliminate unnecessary decisions, you reduce mental clutter and create more space for deep focus. Automation also brings consistency. When decisions are automatic, habits become stable. You no longer rely on motivation to act. You act because the system is already in motion. The beauty of a system is that it continues even when motivation fades. You might not feel like exercising or studying, but if it's already built into your daily schedule, you will do it without resistance. Over time, this consistency creates the results that random effort never can. To automate decisions effectively, Start by identifying the areas of your life where you waste the most time thinking. It could be planning meals, deciding when to work, or figuring out priorities each morning. Once you recognize these patterns, build routines that remove the need for fresh decisions. Prepare your meals in advance, plan your week on Sunday, or set fixed hours for focused work. By doing this, you stop relying on willpower to start tasks, you simply follow the plan. The goal is not to eliminate flexibility, but to create default behaviors that guide you even when you feel tired or unmotivated. Think of automation as a safety net that keeps your life moving in the right direction, even when your mood or energy fluctuates. Without it, every small distraction becomes a decision point, and each one weakens your discipline. But when your system is solid, distractions have less control because your next step is already determined. Technology can be a powerful ally in automating decisions if used correctly. Calendar reminders, scheduling apps, and task managers can help organize your time and eliminate uncertainty. However, the key is to use these tools intentionally, not excessively. Overloading yourself with notifications or complicated systems can create new forms of distraction. The best systems are simple, reliable, and easy to maintain. Once set, they should require little thought. Automation also applies to how you handle routine responsibilities. Create checklists for recurring tasks so you never waste time remembering steps. Set automatic payments for bills to avoid stress. Lay out clothes the night before to reduce morning decisions. Organize your workspace so that everything you need is in the same place every day. These small actions may seem unimportant, but together they create a structure that keeps your mind focused and your day efficient. Your mental energy should be treated like a precious resource. Each morning, you wake up with a limited supply. Every unnecessary decision is like a leak in the system. Automating your daily choices plugs those leaks, preserving energy for your highest priorities. The more energy you save, the more you can invest in creative thinking, meaningful work, and long-term improvement. This is how disciplined people seem calm. Even when busy, they have built systems that carry them through the day with minimal friction. One of the most powerful forms of decision automation is developing habits aligned with your goals. When you repeat a behavior long enough, it becomes automatic. You no longer need to decide, you simply do it. This is how you turn discipline from effort into identity. For example, if you build the habit of reviewing your goals every morning, you no longer need to remind yourself to stay focused. The act itself becomes natural. The brain loves patterns, and when you give it consistent cues, it responds with automatic behavior. There will always be moments when new decisions are necessary, but by reducing the volume of small choices, you preserve your clarity for them. You cannot control everything that happens, but you can control how much energy you bring to each situation. The fewer trivial choices you make, the more strength you have to face unpredictable challenges. This principle applies to both professional and personal life. The person who simplifies the small things gains more control over the big things. Another benefit of automating decisions is emotional stability. Constant choice-making creates anxiety because the mind stays in a state of uncertainty. When you know what comes next, your body relaxes. This calm state allows for deeper concentration and better problem-solving. The mental space created by automation becomes a source of peace rather than pressure. You feel in control not because everything is perfect, but because the essentials of your life are already managed. To maintain long-term focus, align your automated routines with your biggest goals. If your goal is health, design daily routines that support it: meal planning, exercise schedules, sleep times. If your goal is mastery of a skill, create automatic study times that never change. Each system you build becomes a silent ally, pushing you forward even on difficult days. You are not relying on emotion, you are relying on structure. That structure turns long-term goals into predictable progress. A well-structured life also prevents the constant switching of attention that drains productivity. When you automate your workflow, you stay in a state of flow longer. You move smoothly from one task to another without hesitation. This momentum builds confidence and satisfaction because you no longer waste time deciding what to do. You simply do what matters most. Some people resist automation because they fear it will make life dull. But in truth, automation creates freedom. It removes the chaos of daily decision-making and gives you more mental space for creativity, reflection, and connection. The less you spend on managing the trivial, the more you can invest in meaningful experiences. Freedom is not the absence of structure. It is the result of effective structure. You will notice that once your basic routines are automated, you begin to feel lighter. The mental load decreases and focus improves. You become less reactive and more deliberate. You start each day with clarity instead of confusion. The time you once wasted choosing or hesitating becomes available for growth. You begin to live intentionally, guided by systems instead of impulses. The power of decision automation lies in its simplicity. It is not about perfection or control. It is about efficiency. You are choosing to conserve your energy for what truly matters, your long-term goals, your purpose, your growth. Every automated routine, every pre-made choice, every structure you create is a small act of protection for your willpower. Over time, this protection becomes strength. When you automate decisions to conserve willpower, you stop living reactively. You move with purpose, not pressure. You no longer waste strength on daily indecision because your path is already designed. That clarity allows you to approach important goals with full focus. It turns each day into a smooth rhythm instead of a constant struggle. And when your mind is free from small choices, you finally have the energy to focus on the choices that truly shape your life, the ones that lead to lasting fulfillment and achievement. Chapter 8. Cultivate healthy habits through simple triggers and consistent repetition. Habits are the invisible architecture of your life. They determine how you spend your time, how you feel, and ultimately who you become. Most people rely on motivation to change, but motivation is unreliable. It fades, shifts, and disappears when life becomes stressful. What truly shapes lasting transformation is not bursts of effort, but repetition anchored by clear triggers. When you learn to connect your actions to simple cues in your environment, behavior change stops being a struggle and starts becoming natural. The most disciplined individuals do not rely on willpower every day. They rely on systems built through small, consistent repetition that eventually run on autopilot. Every habit begins with a trigger, an action, and a reward. The trigger is the signal that tells your brain to begin the routine. It could be a time of day, a place, an emotion, or a preceding action. The human mind loves patterns. It looks for consistency. When you deliberately attach positive behaviors to simple triggers, you take advantage of how the brain already works. Instead of fighting your instincts, you train them. The beauty of this method is that it removes the need to constantly remember or force yourself to act. The trigger does the remembering for you. To cultivate healthy habits, start by identifying natural triggers that already exist in your daily life. For instance, waking up can be a trigger to drink water or stretch. Brushing your teeth can signal it's time to meditate. Finishing dinner can remind you to take an evening walk. The trigger itself should be something that already happens without effort. You don't need to create a new cue, just attach your habit to something reliable. This strategy works because it ties new actions to existing rhythms, making the habit easier to repeat. Consistency is what turns these small actions into long-term habits. The brain strengthens whatever it repeats. At first, you must consciously remind yourself to follow through, but after enough repetition, the action becomes automatic. Think about how you learn to drive, type, or cook. In the beginning, it required full attention. Now, it happens without conscious thought. Healthy habits work the same way. Repetition rewires your brain until the behavior feels natural. The key is to stay consistent long enough for this transformation to occur. It's better to repeat small actions daily than to do large actions occasionally. The mind responds better to frequency than intensity. For example, doing 10 minutes of focused exercise each day builds a stronger habit than an intense workout once a week. Small wins build momentum because they are easy to sustain. Every time you follow through, you reinforce the identity of someone who keeps promises. That identity eventually becomes self-perpetuating. You act in alignment with who you believe yourself to be. To keep consistency strong, reduce friction between intention and action. Make good habits easy to start, and bad habits harder to access. If you want to eat healthier, keep nutritious food within reach and remove junk food from sight. If you want to read more, place a book where you relax. If you want to stop wasting time on your phone, keep it in another room during work hours. The easier it is to begin a healthy habit, the more likely you are to follow through. Your environment should act as a silent partner that supports your progress. Simple triggers can also be emotional or situational. Feeling stressed can trigger deep breathing instead of mindless scrolling. Finishing a task can trigger gratitude reflection instead of rushing to the next one. By replacing negative reactions with constructive habits, you train emotional control. Every time you respond with awareness instead of impulse, you strengthen mental discipline. This is how habits not only change your behavior, but also reshape your character. Tracking progress helps reinforce consistency. When you can see visible proof of your efforts, you feel rewarded. This reward signals your brain that the behavior is valuable and worth repeating. You can use a calendar, notebook, or app. What matters is recording each successful repetition. Over time, the visual streak becomes motivation on its own. You won't want to break it. The act of seeing progress becomes a trigger to continue. Habits built on repetition do not need to be complex. In fact, simplicity is what makes them sustainable. Complicated routines are fragile. They collapse under stress. Simple ones adapt. The easier a habit is to perform, the less resistance it creates. If you want to develop a meditation habit, start with 2 minutes. If you want to drink more water, begin with 1 glass. The purpose is not to test your strength, it's to make progress effortless. Consistency grows stronger when the effort feels light. Every new habit competes with old ones. The brain resists change because it prefers the familiar. To overcome this, focus on replacing bad habits rather than simply removing them. A bad habit often fulfills a need, comfort, distraction, or relief. Identify that need and find a healthier way to meet it. For example, instead of snacking when bored, go for a short walk. Instead of checking your phone for stimulation, read something meaningful. When a new habit provides a similar reward, it becomes easier to adopt. Repetition also builds emotional stability because it creates structure. When your actions follow predictable patterns, your mind feels grounded. You begin each day with a sense of direction instead of chaos. This stability brings peace and confidence. You stop overthinking every decision because your habits already handle much of your behavior. The disciplined life is not one of restriction, it's one of rhythm. You spend less energy deciding and more energy doing. The most effective way to sustain habits over time is to connect them to your identity. If you view yourself as someone who lives healthily, you will naturally act in ways that confirm that identity. This shift from "I need to do this" to "I am this kind of person" creates lasting change. Every repetition strengthens that identity, and every broken promise weakens it. Discipline grows from this sense of integrity. Your actions consistently match your self-image. To maintain momentum, use small rewards that celebrate progress. They don't have to be material. Acknowledgement is enough. Taking a moment to feel proud reinforces motivation. When you feel rewarded, the brain releases positive emotions that make you want to repeat the behavior. This emotional reinforcement makes consistency more enjoyable and sustainable. The process of self-improvement becomes something you look forward to, not something you endure. There will be days when motivation fades or life becomes unpredictable. During those times, rely on your triggers, not your feelings. When habits are built into your environment and routine, they survive fluctuations in mood. Even minimal effort on a bad day keeps the pattern alive. Missing one repetition is harmless, but missing two in a row begins to erode consistency. Protect your streak by committing to small actions, even when you don't feel like it. This is how you build resilience within your habits. As your habits strengthen, you can gradually increase difficulty. Once 2 minutes of meditation feels natural, expand it to 5. Once you're walking regularly, begin running. The key is gradual growth. Sudden increases lead to burnout, but incremental progress builds endurance. This steady expansion keeps your habits alive and growing without overwhelming your willpower. Over time, healthy habits create momentum that spills into other areas of life. When you become consistent in one domain, exercise, learning, focus, it naturally influences others. You begin to see discipline as a lifestyle rather than a set of rules. You feel a sense of pride and stability because your daily actions align with your values. This alignment produces quiet confidence, a calm assurance that you can rely on yourself. The process of cultivating habits is not about perfection, it's about persistence. Some days you will miss a trigger, forget a step, or feel off balance. What matters is that you return quickly. The strength of a disciplined person lies not in never failing, but in never staying disconnected for long. Each return strengthens the link between intention and action. In the long run, habits free you from the constant battle of decision-making. You no longer need to convince yourself to do the right thing, it happens naturally. That is the ultimate reward of consistent repetition. You create a life where discipline flows effortlessly because it is woven into your routine. The healthy habits you build become the silent machinery behind your growth, driving you forward even when you're not consciously thinking about it. When you cultivate healthy habits through simple triggers and consistent repetition, you are shaping your future in small, invisible ways each day. Each repetition plants a seed that grows stronger with time. The actions may seem small, but their combined effect transforms who you are. Through this steady practice, you gain control over your behavior, peace in your mind, and strength in your character. That is the quiet power of disciplined living, a life guided not by fleeting motivation, but by the steady rhythm of habits built with intention and care. Chapter 9. Master self-talk and reframe challenges into manageable next steps. The words you speak to yourself are the foundation of your inner world. Every thought you repeat, every phrase you whisper in silence, becomes a signal that shapes your actions and beliefs. Most people never realize how much their internal dialogue determines their reality. They carry voices of doubt, guilt, or limitation without questioning them. But when you learn to master your self-talk, you gain the ability to direct your emotions and behavior consciously. You begin to respond to life with calm awareness instead of fear or frustration. The quality of your thoughts becomes the quality of your decisions, and your decisions become the direction of your life. Self-talk is not about positive thinking or forcing yourself to ignore reality. It is about choosing language that helps you act intelligently and effectively, even when things are difficult. When challenges arise, the way you interpret them in your mind determines how you feel. If you see a challenge as a threat, your body reacts with tension, anxiety, and avoidance. But if you see it as something you can manage step by step, your mind remains clear and focused. This shift in interpretation does not change the situation, it changes your strength in facing it. The first step in mastering self-talk is awareness. Most of your inner dialogue happens automatically. It is the result of years of experiences, beliefs, and social conditioning. The moment you start observing it, you begin to reclaim control. Pay attention to how you speak to yourself throughout the day. Do you criticize yourself when you make mistakes? Do you doubt your abilities before trying something new? Do you repeat words that make you feel powerless? Awareness does not require judgment. It requires honesty. Once you become aware, you can begin replacing harmful language with supportive language that drives progress instead of fear. When something difficult happens, the natural tendency is to exaggerate it in your mind. You might think, "This always happens to me," or "I'll never be able to do this." These phrases are not just words, they create emotions that influence behavior. When you say, "I'll never," your brain stops looking for solutions. But when you say, "This is hard, but I can take the next step," your brain starts searching for possibilities. The difference between progress and paralysis often begins with a single sentence. Reframing challenges into manageable steps is one of the most powerful mental skills you can develop. Many people quit not because a task is impossible, but because they try to face the entire challenge at once. The mind becomes overwhelmed when it sees everything that must be done. Reframing breaks that pattern. Instead of seeing a mountain, you see the first stone. Instead of focusing on everything that could go wrong, you focus on the next action that will make it slightly better. By breaking big problems into smaller tasks, you reduce fear and increase confidence. Every small success reinforces your belief that progress is possible. To reframe effectively, use precise language. Replace abstract worries with concrete plans. For example, instead of saying, "I can't handle this project," say, "I'll start by outlining the first step today." Instead of, "I'm failing," say, "I'm still learning what works." This shift from final judgment to practical direction turns self-talk into a tool for growth. It keeps your energy focused on what you can control. The brain responds positively to clarity and direction. When you give it a clear next step, it follows willingly. Another essential part of mastering self-talk is practicing self-compassion. Harsh inner criticism may feel like discipline, but it weakens persistence. When you constantly attack yourself for mistakes, your mind becomes defensive. It begins to associate effort with pain. Compassion, on the other hand, creates safety within your own thoughts. It allows you to learn from failure without fear. When you speak to yourself with understanding, acknowledging effort, instead of perfection, you build resilience. This is how disciplined people sustain progress for years. They correct themselves firmly but kindly. Self-talk also affects how you handle uncertainty. When you face something unknown, your mind tends to fill the gap with worst-case scenarios. But you can train yourself to use different language. Instead of saying, "I don't know what will happen," say, "I will handle whatever happens." The second statement reinforces trust in your ability to adapt. You stop trying to control everything and focus on controlling yourself. This trust is the essence of discipline. It is the belief that you can remain steady no matter the circumstances. The words "I can" and "I will" may sound simple, but they carry power when repeated with conviction. They reprogram your subconscious mind over time. Each repetition builds familiarity, and familiarity builds belief. This is not blind optimism, it is deliberate conditioning. The more often you remind yourself of your strength, the more naturally your actions align with it. The mind becomes what it practices. Another technique for mastering self-talk is to externalize your thoughts. When you feel stuck or overwhelmed, write down what you are telling yourself. Seeing it on paper creates distance between you and the emotion. You can examine it objectively. Often, you will notice exaggerations and distortions. Thoughts that seem true in your head lose power once written. At that moment, replace them with clear, rational, and supportive statements. Over time, this practice rewires your automatic responses. To reframe effectively, avoid absolute language. Words like always, never, or can't create unnecessary limitations. They close your mind to solutions. Instead, use flexible language such as sometimes, yet, or for now. These phrases keep the door open for change. I can't do this becomes I can't do this yet. That one word shifts the meaning from defeat to possibility. It gives your mind space to grow. Your inner dialogue should act like a coach, not a critic. A good coach pushes you to improve, but also reminds you of your progress. Your self-talk should do the same. When you make mistakes, acknowledge them, but also recognize the effort you put in. Balance is crucial. Too much self-praise breeds complacency, but too much self-criticism breeds fear. The disciplined person uses self-talk to stay grounded, realistic, motivated, and focused on continuous improvement. When facing setbacks, your internal dialogue determines whether you give up or grow. If your first response is self-blame, you close yourself off to learning. But if your first response is curiosity, you open the door to growth. Ask questions like, what can I learn from this? Or, how can I handle this better next time? These questions redirect your attention from the problem to the solution. They transform emotional pain into insight. Every setback becomes a classroom, and every mistake becomes a teacher. It is also important to use self-talk to regulate emotional intensity. During stressful situations, tell yourself to slow down, breathe, and focus. Simple phrases such as, one step at a time, stay calm, or focus on the next move, can prevent panic from taking control. These grounding statements act as anchors. They bring your attention back to the present moment, where real action can happen. Emotional control begins with verbal control, the language you use to guide your reactions. Reframing also applies to long-term challenges. When facing a big goal that feels distant, remind yourself that progress comes through small, consistent actions. Instead of saying, this will take forever, say, each day brings me closer. The mind works best when it sees progress as a sequence, not as a single overwhelming task. Every day becomes manageable when broken into steps. You train your brain to look forward to the next move instead of fearing the final outcome. The tone of your self-talk matters as much as the words themselves. Speak to yourself with calm authority. Avoid drama, exaggeration, or negativity. The mind believes what it hears most often, so make sure the voice it hears is one of strength and clarity. Even when you feel uncertain, maintain a tone of reason. Discipline is not loud or emotional, it is steady. Let your inner dialogue reflect that steadiness. With practice, positive self-talk becomes automatic. You will notice that when difficulties arise, your first thoughts are constructive instead of critical. You will start asking, what's the next step? Instead of, why is this happening to me? That small change in question turns frustration into progress. The mind begins to act as an ally instead of an obstacle. Over time, mastering self-talk and reframing challenges changes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who reacts to problems and start seeing yourself as someone who manages them. This shift brings confidence, not because life becomes easier, but because your mind becomes stronger. You no longer collapse under pressure. You analyze, adapt, and move forward. The real power of self-talk lies in its quiet persistence. The voice in your head speaks all day, shaping how you interpret everything that happens. When that voice becomes disciplined, measured, calm, and forward-looking, it becomes your greatest strength. It gives you the ability to stay centered through failure, uncertainty, and change. You begin to move through life with a quiet inner stability, knowing that no matter what happens, your next step will always be within your control. Chapter 10. Commit to daily reflection and adjust strategies for continuous growth. Growth does not happen by accident. It requires awareness, honesty, and consistent adjustment. Most people work hard, but rarely pause to examine whether their effort is leading them in the right direction. They move quickly, yet unconsciously, repeating the same habits without understanding their results. The truth is that progress cannot be sustained without reflection. Daily reflection gives clarity. It reveals what worked, what failed, and what needs to change. Without it, discipline turns into routine and action becomes mechanical. When you make time each day to reflect, you turn experience into wisdom and mistakes into guidance. Reflection is not about judgment or regret, it is about observation. It's a moment to step back from doing and focus on understanding. Every day teaches you something, but you must be quiet enough to hear it. Reflection is that quiet space between effort and adjustment. It allows you to see patterns that would otherwise go unnoticed. Through reflection, you transform your actions from automatic to intentional. You stop living on autopilot and start leading your life with awareness. The best way to begin reflecting daily is to create a specific time for it. A few minutes at the end of the day is enough. Turn off distractions, sit in silence, and ask yourself simple questions. What did I do well today? What challenged me? What can I improve tomorrow? These questions turn vague feelings into clear insights. They help you identify where your energy is well spent and where it's being wasted. You begin to see which actions bring you closer to your goals and which pull you away. Reflection requires honesty. It is easy to lie to yourself, to exaggerate your success, or hide your failures. But growth only happens when you face the truth directly. Admit what didn't work. Recognize what you avoided. The purpose is not to feel guilty, but to learn. When you are truthful with yourself, every mistake becomes a stepping stone. You cannot change what you refuse to acknowledge. Self-awareness is the root of improvement, and reflection is how you cultivate it daily. Writing is one of the most powerful tools for reflection. When you write down your thoughts, they become clear. What seems confusing in your mind often becomes simple on paper. Keep a daily journal, not as a diary of events, but as a record of progress. Write about what you learned, what distracted you, and what you plan to adjust. Over time, these notes become a map of your growth. You can look back and see patterns of improvement that you might have missed otherwise. Reflection is most effective when it leads to action. Awareness without adjustment is useless. After reviewing your day, choose one small thing to improve tomorrow. It could be waking up 5 minutes earlier, focusing better during work, or being more patient in conversation. Continuous growth happens through these small, deliberate changes. Each adjustment compounds over time, creating transformation that feels effortless. The disciplined person understands that self-improvement is not a sudden leap, but a series of consistent refinements. To make reflection meaningful, avoid turning it into self-criticism. Many people mistake reflection for self-blame. They look back only to highlight failures. But true reflection is balanced. It acknowledges what went wrong, while also appreciating what went right. Gratitude is an important part of this process. When you notice progress, even small progress, you reinforce your motivation. Gratitude keeps the process light and sustainable. Without it, reflection becomes punishment instead of guidance. The act of reflection also sharpens focus. When you take time to review your day, your priorities become clearer. You stop chasing distractions disguised as progress. You begin to separate activity from achievement. This clarity allows you to allocate time and energy more effectively. You start the next day knowing exactly what deserves attention. This habit of ending each day with review and beginning each morning with direction creates a powerful cycle of improvement. One reason people fail to grow consistently is that they treat their strategies as fixed. They create a plan once and expect it to work forever. But growth is not static. What worked yesterday may not work tomorrow. Life changes, responsibilities shift, and goals evolve. Reflection keeps you adaptable. It teaches you to update your approach instead of clinging to old methods. Adaptability is not weakness, it is intelligence. The disciplined mind learns, adjusts, and moves forward with purpose. It's also important to track how your mindset changes through reflection. Notice how you react to challenges, how you handle discomfort, and how you recover from setbacks. Over time, reflection reveals how much you've matured emotionally. You start to see that the same difficulties that once upset you no longer have power over you. This awareness strengthens confidence. You realize that progress is not just external success, it's internal stability. Daily reflection also deepens self-respect. When you review your actions honestly and make deliberate adjustments, you prove to yourself that you are serious about your growth. You no longer live by chance. You live by choice. You begin to trust your ability to learn from mistakes and make better decisions. This trust builds inner peace. You stop fearing failure because you know you can learn from it. Every day becomes an opportunity to improve, not a test of perfection. To make reflection a lasting habit, pair it with a trigger. You might reflect after dinner, before bed, or after your evening walk. The timing doesn't matter as much as consistency. Once it becomes a regular part of your day, it feels natural. You begin to look forward to it because it gives closure and clarity. It becomes the moment where your mind resets, letting go of the day's noise and preparing for the next. In your reflections, focus not only on actions but also on thoughts. Ask yourself what kind of mindset guided your decisions. Were you patient or impulsive? Confident or doubtful? Calm or reactive? By understanding your mental patterns, you gain control over them. The mind, once understood, becomes easier to manage. You begin to shape it deliberately instead of letting it drift. Sometimes reflection will reveal uncomfortable truths. You may realize that certain habits or relationships drain your energy, or that your goals no longer align with your values. Facing these truths is difficult but necessary. Growth often begins with letting go of old habits, outdated beliefs, or unnecessary commitments. Reflection gives you the courage to release what no longer serves you. By removing what holds you back, you create space for new strength to grow. Another part of reflection is celebrating resilience. Look back at the challenges you overcame and acknowledge your effort. You are often stronger than you realize. Reflection reminds you of this strength. It shows that even on difficult days, you persisted. This awareness builds confidence for future challenges. When you know you have survived before, you stop doubting your ability to survive again. Reflection also connects you with purpose. When you slow down to think about your progress, you are reminded of why you started. In the rush of daily life, it's easy to forget the meaning behind your actions. Reflection brings it back into focus. It reconnects your effort with your vision. Purpose turns discipline into devotion. It gives every task meaning beyond routine. To ensure continuous growth, be flexible with your methods but firm with your goals. Reflection helps you see which strategies still work and which need revision. You don't need to change direction constantly, but you must be willing to adjust. Stagnation happens when you stop questioning your methods. Improvement happens when you refine them regularly. Reflection is how you keep your approach fresh and aligned with reality. At times, you will feel frustrated that progress is slow. Reflection helps you manage this impatience. It reminds you that growth is not measured by speed but by direction. As long as you are learning and adjusting, you are moving forward. The disciplined person does not demand perfection, they demand persistence. Reflection ensures that persistence stays meaningful and efficient. The process of daily reflection may seem small, but over months and years, it changes everything. It prevents you from repeating mistakes. It helps you recognize patterns of success. It deepens self-awareness and enhances decision-making. It keeps your growth intentional. The most disciplined people are not the ones who never fail. They are the ones who continuously refine how they respond to failure. In time, reflection becomes more than a habit. It becomes a way of thinking. You start evaluating moments as they happen, not just after they end. You live with awareness instead of autopilot. Every day becomes a lesson, every setback a teacher, every success a message. You realize that growth is endless, not something to reach, but something to maintain. When you commit to daily reflection and adjust your strategies for continuous growth, you step into mastery. You stop chasing quick fixes and start living with clarity. You learn to move deliberately, to improve calmly, and to adapt intelligently. Each day becomes an opportunity to refine your mind, strengthen your habits, and align your actions with your purpose. Through reflection, you become your own guide, quietly observing, constantly improving, and steadily evolving into the best version of yourself.